Okay, so what I wanted to talk to you today was about the power of interruption. Now, as part of the networking that I do, I network with For Networking, which is a great forum for networking because there's a very definite procedure, very definite layout of a meeting. Now, one aspect of the meeting is the ability to give a 15 to 20 minute talk on an interesting area of your business, life, etc. And I've had the privilege of delivering a couple of different foresights, as they're called, um, over the past few months. Now, one of them has been on the power of interruption, which is a subject which is dear to my heart. Um, but I'm just going to quickly talk about some of the things that I talk about in that foresight. Um, it's ironic that today's technology, although it's helped us massively, it's also become probably one of the biggest hindrances to our productivity. Um, this fact is one of the biggest factors that comes into play in how I come about working with businesses. Um, Productivity is so key. You know, if we were to look at the economics of it, around the world, etc., productivity levels have been dropping significantly in various countries, but more importantly in various sectors. They've also been increasing in many as well. Now, this is quite a quandary, but the point is that today we have so many different forms of technology that can either help us or hinder us. Some people refer to this day and age as the age of distraction because there is so many types of these technologies. So whereas in days gone by, even if you look back 10, 15 years ago, it was the PC that was the predominant form of communication. Yes, we had desk phones, we had letters still, like facsimiles, all these kind of things. But ultimately, the quickest means of communication was the PC. And if we look back, we look at it and we think, well, actually, when we had the PC, we started to send email, and then all of a sudden we can communicate with people directly, very, very quickly. That's interesting because now it's not just a PC which is sitting at your desk at work or sitting at home in your study. We're actually carrying around with us, the various forms of technology. I mean, I'm doing these video posts on my MacBook Air. I've just held up my iPhone. I have an iPad, etc. There's so many different ways of communication, and the problem is each one of these ways, there's multiple forms of communication contained within that device. So just within this little innocuous phone, I have email. I have about 4 different forms of social media. I have text message. I have obviously the phone itself. I have voicemail. Uh, it goes on and on and on. And one of the key things is you know, these days we're not just suffering from one form of distraction. We're suffering from multiple distractions or interruptions. And people sometimes say to me, well, can an interruption not be a positive? Well, it can be sometimes. But when we talk about interruption, we're generally talking about the negative aspects of interruption, i.e., its impact on our productivity. And fundamentally, this is where I help businesses get back to their high payoff activities, which is the things that they know is going to push their businesses forward rather than dealing with distraction and interruption. So I'll just give you some quick stats. In a recent study that was done, it displayed that there was an average of 2.25 hours a day that people were spending in interruption. This was equivalent to a 28% loss in productivity, which I find horrific. And when I actually talk to business, I talk about, monetary values. So, for instance, what is the value of a person's time? So, if it's somebody on, say, £40,000 roughly, they're on a £20 an hour rate, if you want to call it that. So, if they're in 2.25 hours of disruption every day, they're effectively losing £50 a day, or somewhere in the region of £50 a day. That's £250 a week. That's £1,000 a month. So you start to times that out, and you get down to £12,000 a year, which is potentially the bottom line impact. And that's just on from the wage point of view. If it's a salesperson, it's not just that impact, it's the impact of not being able to hit sales. So for instance, if somebody hits a sale every 2 hours and the average value of a sale is £500, you effectively can take it that that salesperson loses that value every day. So when you start to multiply these ideas out, you get to a point where you think, well, actually, the impacts of these interruptions are huge potentially. So let's get back to the stats. So how long does it take us to refocus? Often it's 10 to 20 times the length of the interruption. So if somebody interrupts you for a minute, it can take you 10 to 20 minutes to get back to the same level of focus. The Conference on Human Factors came up with a lot of interesting stats. So there's 12 minutes between interruptions, which is interesting. There's 25 minutes on average to return to the task, and then there's 15 minutes to get back to the previous level of focus. So you compound those three stats together, and all of a sudden you've got massive amounts of overlap. So you can see that sometimes people never actually get back to what they should be doing. Bottom line. What I thought was really interesting, and I hope will be of interest to you guys, will be that the difference between open and closed offices. Now, I think open offices, everybody accepts that there's going to be more interruption, but fundamentally, the research that's come back has said there'll be a 63% chance of interruption in an open office. That's fair enough. I think everybody understands that. What was really interesting was that in actual fact, there's a 49% chance of interruption for people who have dedicated offices, i.e. a door. Now I know when I was sales director of the last business I was with, that ultimately there was times when I would not shut my door, many a time. Social stigmas, not wanting to upset people or offend people, perceived expectations of myself, being available. All these things led to the fact that I found it difficult to close the door. When I did start to close the door, I did it in a very definite way. I started to do it for very specific reasons. I wanted to set blocks of time, so I wouldn't shut it for whole days at end. But maybe what I'd do is I'd spend an hour in the morning, an hour in the afternoon dealing with my emails and my calls, so I'd shut my door then, so people knew that I was doing something. But key points to take away. I think it's fair to say that everybody deals with interruption. It's just the degree, the volume, and the frequency of those interruptions. So hopefully those ideas have been of interest to you. One of the principles I explain to people with these kind of things is very simple. Make the unconscious conscious. So if there's one thing you do as a consequence of this video, it is go away, just do it for a day, a week, whatever, but make a list of the interruptions, make a list of what the interruption was, when it was, how long it lasted, and how long you felt it took you to get back to where you were. And if you just did that for a day, it would make, like I say, that unconscious conscious, and would give you a better idea of what you're spending in interruption. Because one of the worst things that can happen is when I go into a room and I say, right then, so everybody put their hands up who suffers from interruption, and everybody goes, aye, yeah. And then I say, so how long do you think you suffer from interruption? And everybody stares at me blankly. I don't know, Matthew. And then I tell them these figures. And for some people, it's not going to be as long as the 2.25 hours. For other people, it's going to be vastly, vastly longer. And the point is you need to know, because if you're trying to push your businesses forward, you need to know where your sticking points are, and more importantly, what you can do about it. So it goes back to the goals, it goes back to the plan to address those goals. So if you are suffering from interruption, one of your goals might be to cut that down. So therefore you need to put a plan in place, and again, this is where I help businesses. So specific tips: learn how to say no. I know it's hard, but sometimes it's got to be done. Eliminate or reorganise. Don't just leave things. You see this sometimes in professional businesses where people see emails and they file them rather than doing anything with them. Either get rid of them and tell the person that you're not going to do it, or reorganise it. Reorganise it for yourself, reorganise it for somebody else to do, or you delegate, but do something with it. Allocate lots of time, like I've just said. It allows focus and concentration. Try not to be the first thing that you do in the morning to just literally bring up your email and start going through it. It's not productive, especially if you're a morning person, but even if you're not, that first hour and a half, for a lot of people, is when they have the most energy. Put your phone on silent, but when I say put your phone on silent, put everything on silent, not just calls. Vibrate, it's the bane of everybody's lives. If I was sitting here and my phone was vibrating, I'd be like looking down every time to see, oh, well, what's that, what's this? Put everything on silent. One of the great things that I explain to people to help themselves with interruption is use an email sign-off that states when you're going to check your emails. So it gives people an expectation of when they know when you're going to come back to them. So what I've helped some clients do is just a simple footer to say, I check my emails between 8 and 9 and 3 and 4. And then people know if they email after 9, they're not going to get a response. So I put another statement in there saying, if it's urgent, please call me. And I've had one MD who was getting, you know, it did vary, but it was anywhere between 10 and 20 calls regarding emails, a day saying, look, I've emailed you, but you haven't come back. As soon as he put that statement in there, that dropped to 1 or 2 a day. The impact was immediate and it was massive. So something as simple as that can be very, very effective. And the final thing is plan for interruption. Don't block your diaries out totally. Don't go 9 till 11, 11 till 1, 1 till 3, 3 till 5. It just doesn't work. What you're better off doing is allowing, a minimum of two slots of half an hour in the morning and 1 in the afternoon, basically to allow for interruption. So hopefully that's been of interest. Hopefully, if you adopt some of these things, you'll get back to those high payoff activities I described. And ultimately, if you would like more help on this, then please feel free to contact me. And I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Bye.